What's up, G Fusion fans, and welcome back to another superhero time review. Now, before we begin, as always, I would like to remind everyone that this video is not intended for viewers under 13, and some spoiler alerts just in case. So, here we go. Today's Kamen Rider Saber episode 6. So, we are introduced to Kamen Rider Kenzan, also known as Den Akamichi. So, Den is so far at least the youngest among the riders in this show so far, while on an average, at least for the three main riders that we have so far, excluding Buster and Caliber. So Toma, Bintaro, and Kento are around their early 20s, but uh, by his looks alone, Den seems to be at around 18 years, more or less. So far he is the youngest Sword of Logos rider, and we also do see his transformation in this episode. So for Kenzan's transformation, I noticed that his transformation sequence is not your usual animated transformation sequence because for example, when the other riders transform so far, like they have this animation of like being in a huge library and the book that represents their rider forms. There's a giant book that falls behind them like a backdrop, so it happens. But for Kenzan, it does not. It's more like a standard Kamen Rider transformation animation. So, like, yeah, he uses his sword to summon and transform his right into his rider form, but the animation is a lot plain, I would say, compared to the others. But maybe in future episodes we would see that similar animation again, the library, the backdrop, and everything. But so far, for Kamen Rider Kenzan, so action wise, of course, he is a ninja and he is wind based, so he seems to be the fastest rider amongst all of the others. So you do see him run around, jump like a ninja, probably, presumably be able to clone himself and such. And of course, his Fuso I believe, can be used as a shuriken. It, of course, splits into two swords. So, very typical ninja stuff. Well, ninjas don't actually wield two swords unless they are trained for it. It's not impossible, but I've heard of no historical records where ninja actually wielded two swords or any ninja sword. Like for example, like this one. This is a wooden sword made uh, like a wakizashi size, so it may have been possible to wield two swords like this, but again, for ninjas, they're not really into actual combat. They're more on stealth, espionage, and such. So that's what. Basically, that's the deal with the Kamen Rider Kenzan. So then himself, again, because he is very young, so he is energetic. He feels that he is strong. He believes that strength is justice, and the stronger one is the righteous one. So he seems to like making bets because he makes a lot of. He made a couple of bets with Toma in this episode. Uh, Showing us that he is kind of arrogant because of his youth. So I would presume that there would be an episode where his arrogance would get the better of him and actually lose because of that. So yeah, that's the deal with Kamen Rider Kanzan, aka Ren. Now there are two other plots in today's episode. The first one is Toma and his encounter with another sort of Logos member, which is Storius. So when they met, Toma thought that Storius was a civilian who got trapped in the Wonder World, but of course, Storius reveals that he is actually a member of Megiddo by transforming into his monstrous form, and because of that, uh, Toma is left unable to transform. So, in order to find a solution, he enlists the help of uh, Tetsuo Daishinji, the chief mechanic and uh, tech guy of the Sword of Logos. So they try to find a solution, and the word Avalon comes out a lot. So, but with this, so we can assume that it is related to the next Wonder Ride book that they will obtain, which is most likely the King of Excalibur. And therefore, maybe by next episode, Toma will get the King Excalibur power up. So that's something that we should watch out for next week. So while Toma was asking questions, especially when he asked Sophia about a solution, so they're trying to look for a solution. Sophia says that if there's anything you need, ask Slash. So Toma begins to wonder who or what Slash is, and eventually, Toma deduces that Slash is none other than Tetsuo himself, which he confirms. And Tetsuo says that only Sophia is the other person who actually calls him by that name. So, with that, we can assume that Tetsuo may have been a rider himself, or he probably still is, but is rather inactive as of the moment. So uh, we could potentially see Tetsuo become a Kamen Rider himself. So Kamen Rider Slash, if ever. So when the show, okay, they had their press conference way before the series started. So it was announced that about 10 or more Kamen Riders would appear in the show, and we still have room for more Kamen Riders to appear. So far, we already have 6 Kamen Riders who have made their debut. So, of course, we have Saber, Blades, Espada, Buster, Kenzan, and Caliber as well. So, we still have about 4, at least, if we are going to make it 10 Kamen Riders, but again, there would be more than 10. So there's still a lot of room for Tetsuo to become a rider himself, and we might see him transform in the future. So the possibility is still open there. And then the third plot of today's episode revolves around Nintaro. So, Nintaro, while accompanied by Mei, so they encounter Zuos once again, and Zuos reveals something that would cause a rivalry between him and Blades. So, what that is, well, I'm not going to tell you guys in order to not spoil everything, but uh, what's interesting about this scene is the typically calm and collected Rintaro becomes very emotional and actually very angry towards Zuos when Zuos made his revelation again, which is actually related to Rintaro himself. So uh, it's interesting to see the change in personality in Rintaro. So how are they going to resolve this? So that one we have to wait for in future episodes. So, Kamen Rider Saber episode 6, I am going to give it 4.5 out of 5. Now, the other plot points are really good. However, what's off-putting is Dan's personality. Again, I understand he is so far the youngest rider, and like typical teenager, I guess. He's still, he thinks that he knows everything. He thinks he can do everything and such. So probably that's the biggest put off for me. But again, I kind of understand it in a way, in terms of the story, I guess. So yeah, it's generally good, I would say. So still a good watch. Now let's move on to Kira Major episode 27. So when Senna made her debut, of course, we saw her uniform with the Scratch logo on it, and we would think that it was just an Easter egg. However, when it was announced and confirmed that the mother and daughter tandem of Miki and Natsume Masaki would return, so we now have an actual confirmation that at least Kira Major and Geki Ranger are in the same universe. So when the rest of Carrot, saw Scratch, so they did learn that Scratch and the Geki Rangers work together. And with that, we also see some Geki Ranger footage, especially when the Geki Rangers transform. So when I saw that, it made me rewatch the first episode of Geki Ranger. So I might actually rewatch Geki Ranger because of this one. So again, Miki and Natsume appear in this episode, and what's also interesting is that they also use a lot of the Jan speak or Jan Kando's language, which is basically onomatopoeia, especially when he describes his emotions. Like, for example, when he gets excited and he's really happy, Jan uh, either says words like niki niki or waki waki, or when there's an enemy around, like he can sense an enemy, so he says zowa zowa. So especially Niki Niki and Zoa Zoa get tossed a lot. They got tossed around a lot in this episode. Well, of course, it annoys Sena who doesn't understand the thing, but like Juru understands it easily despite having heard of it for the first time. So again, we get the confirmation that the Geki Rangers do exist in this universe, and they have heard of the Geki Rangers exploits, and that is very nice. So, of course, being a Geki Fist user herself, so we also see Miki in action for a little bit. However, with Natsume, by the end of Geki Ranger, in the final episodes, we see her starting her training under Retsu, aka Geki Blue. However, she doesn't use those skills in this episode. She probably hasn't mastered it to the same level as her mother, but Natsume was a dancer, so she kind of used her dance skills while in battle. So I guess to an extent she had applied her training. So how are they connected to the Kira majors, in especially with Senna? So yes, Senna, because she uses Scratch, uh, Scratch produced uniform, so of course Scratch made it. It was also revealed that Senna, uh, or rather, Natsume is Senna's senior in college, so they went to college or university together, and of course, because of that, they kind of sponsored her with the Scratch uniform. That's why she wears it a lot. So for this episode, Senna tests a device, of course, created by Scratch, and it just so happens that the Jotunheim, especially Yodonna herself, manages to tamper with that device in some way, turning it into a dangerous device that's attached to Senna. So basically, that episode uh, revolves around Senna trying to get rid of the device, or else she will die. So how they resolve this issue, of course, that's for you guys to see for yourselves. And because this is a Senna focused episode, as part of the Kira Major Song Festival, we hear Senna's own character song today. So it's really good. It's actually interesting. Like I would expect something like completely peppy, like similar to Judo's own theme song, but a lot of guitar riffs like make it badass and kind of heroic at the same time. Uh, you get that mixture of like again like peppy, energetic heroine with the badass vibe as well. So it was really awesome. So I would put it second, uh, or I would actually even tie it with Tametomo's theme song in terms of how much I liked it. So with everything said, with all that Geki Ranger nostalgia, I know I love Geki Ranger myself. I am giving Kira Major episode 27 5 out of 5. I mean, again, we get that nostalgia with the appearance of Miki and Natsume. So, and of course, by actually including some Geki Ranger footage, so fans of Geki Ranger would also love this as well. I just hope they at least invited Hiroki Suzuki, the actor for Jan Kando. It may be impossible to bring back Manpei Takagi and I forgot Dan's name, Uzaki. But both of their both Geki Blue and Geki Yellow, their actors have since quit showbiz, so uh, it's impossible for them to come back. But at least Hiroki Suzuki, Geki Red is still active in showbiz, so again, it would have been nice to at least make him appear, even for just one scene at least. That would have been very, very nice because the last time I saw him was actually in Gokaiger with the Geki Ranger tribute episode. So, yeah, but at least, again, those we now know that the Kira Majors and Geki Rangers exist in the same universe, and definitely Kira Major is part of the Super Sentai universe. So not only are we going to confirm that, of course, when eventually the Kira Majors and the Blue Soldiers team up someday, but having a connection to a much older Super Sentai series, very nice. That's perfect for me. So yeah, okay, yeah, I know. When it comes to Super Sentai, like we basically established that they are indeed in the same universe, but again, you know, that relation to a much older Super Sentai that appeared 13 years ago. Imagine that gap. Okay, so yeah, we do know that Super Sentais are connected because every year, the previous team teams up with the current team and then would team up with the next team. Yeah, we've seen that already, but imagine again, much longer ago, man, like hits the nostalgia button so hard. That's why I gave today's Kina Major a perfect score. So hope you guys like this video, so please do leave a like, comment, share this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get the latest from JE Fusion. This has been Philip, and I'll see you in the next Superhero Time Review. Bye.